was that? Oh, money. Hey guys, welcome to Suspenders of Belief. I'm Heavy.
And I'm Traby.
And today we watched Devil Dog, Hound of Hell.
Oh boy, did we watch it.
I don't even know where to begin with this movie. Our expectations were already pretty low, considering that just looking at this box art and reading it, it's a made-for-TV film. But the strange part was this movie was made in 1978, and this printing was done in 2005, and I've actually seen an even more updated one on Blu-ray. So for whatever reason, there's some love for this film. And after watching it, I don't understand it.
My guess is kids of a certain age probably watched it and were creeped out by it, because if you're 10 and it's 1978, you haven't been able to see a lot of horror movies, and certainly there aren't anything that challenging or that intimidating that you've probably seen, and you watch this on regular TV, you have normal access to it. It can be creepy to a little kid at that age and that mind frame. I think that's really all it is a lot of nostalgia. People wanted to have a copy of it. And most of the time, stuff that's made for TV is lost. Like, you usually don't find it on video. You wouldn't have gotten it on video at the time. So there's a little bit of, oh wow, I remember that. I'll buy that DVD. And then that's part of where that market comes from.
Well, but there are some things that I remember coming out on television, like the made-for-TV movie It, which is obviously not cinema classic gold or anything, but it still at least has like some watchability. This movie was a mess. The first act, it had like a little bit of setup, and there was maybe a little bit too much backstory given. The rising tension is so slow, and the payoffs are so little. Almost everything of any type of action or importance happens off camera, and then we're told about it later. It had a lot of prequelitis going on.
Well, a lot of that I would blame on the fact that it was made for TV and in decades past. Like, these days, something made for TV could get away with a little bit more blood, a little bit more violence, but not this. Also, one of my problems was that the tropes that we're familiar with felt like they were not necessarily out of order, but played too early or too late. That affected the pacing as well. Because there was a bit where he had to go reach some kind of mystic shaman, and the movie just stopped dead.
Have you ever heard of the Barghest?
The Barghest? No, what is it?
There's definitely some pacing issues. I can't imagine having watched this with commercial breaks.
We kept constantly guessing where there was going to be a twist or there's going to be something more to this, but there's a dog that's possessed or channeling a demon.
Is a conduit for something.
Or something, and its powers are very left to interpretation because it seems to have influence, and some people can control, and some people are gifted and they're able to break that control. It's a movie that makes up its rules as it goes along, which as an audience member is really frustrating. The idea of it being like a son of the devil, being born through a dog and being kind of a demonic creature. Movies like The Omen where it's the son of a jackal. But for a movie that was so small and so simple, it only had a couple of characters. There's almost no character growth at all. Like, none.
The movie opened with Satanists, which got me excited.
Sunday.
Sunday.
Oh, it's going to be like a creepy conspiracy. This whole thing has been a goal of theirs to position this dog with this maybe rich family, or this family has some sort of influence over something. You know, the dad or the mom have some sort of job in a government agency. So I was thinking, like you said, just way further ahead than the movie did. And part of what is frustrating about this movie too is a lot of things happen off screen, but then they're overwritten in their explanation to where it's just like, wait, what? What?
The day of the election, Bobby Afferton was found with a stolen watch in his locker. There were witnesses, said they actually saw him take it. Of course, the upshot was that he got suspended, lost the election.
So I don't know what the point of a lot of it was.
And then there were some things that we were kind of getting distracted by as we watched the film, and I didn't know whether to accredit it to, are we just bored and desperately looking for something to talk about? But while we're watching it, we kept commenting on how many potted plants there were. Maybe potted plants were just a common thing. Every room had to have a potted plant. Maybe that was the feng shui of the time. But it got to the point where it was distracting because it wasn't like one room with a bunch of plants. Like, every room had a bunch of plants.
Almost every shot, there was a potted plant present. And it's like, what in the world? I don't know if it was just like the set designer was all like, I want to do plants. That's my thing right now. I'm putting plants everywhere. Or like you said, maybe it was just a thing and we're not of that time, so we don't notice it. I mean, we had potted plants in my house, but not 15 in every room. It's insane. We thought maybe maybe it had something to do with the color green, because that color is pretty prominent in a lot of like props or walls or whatever. You see it pretty frequently. And then you said, well, the color green isn't necessarily associated with Satan.
I would agree with the fact that maybe just the person making the film, the set designer, the photographer, whoever decided to pick on some of those things or highlight some of those shots, just like the color green. But if you remember, when the dog's like satanic powers would light up, his eyes would also light up green.
Prince, what's the matter with you?
So green was a very deliberate color choice on like the special effects department and the prop department and the set design. There's a lot of green, almost to the level of Troll 2. At least in Troll 2, it was there for symbolism and it actually meant something. With this movie, I don't even know what to accredit it to. If it had just been red, it would have made sense. We're talking about Devil Dog.
If the set designer and the director were like, we want to use a color to kind of convey something, but they were like, well, red's too obvious, let's go with green. That could work, but if it was me, I would make it a gradual increase. Like when it starts off, it's more subtle, but by the end of the movie, it's like green everywhere. And something like that drastic, the audience would notice it, and it would also still be funny, but at least you could kind of see what they were going for. It's like, oh, okay, this situation is getting out of control. She hung up a new painting and it's green, or they changed the carpet and it's green, or something like that. I don't know. It's clearly a deliberate choice, but I don't think there was any thought behind it.
So after watching Devil Dog, Hound of Hell, what would you rate this movie?
I was thinking a 2 seems too low, because it's definitely not great, but the 2 specifically we designated as something that is not fun to watch. And I had fun watching this, especially spotting all the green plants and everything. But it's not quite cult so bad it's good level either of a 3, so maybe a 2.5 for me.
And see, I honestly didn't have fun watching this film. I think we were desperately trying to make our own fun because of how boring and slow the story was. I think us like looking at plants and laughing at the terrible special effect. So this film is a solid 2 for me. But let me tell you, that final shot of like the devil dog being internally combusted and sent back to hell, and you see what I can only assume is supposed to be Satan, and he looks like a prop from Crank Yankers. Mwah. Chef's kiss.
It's great.
It made the rest of the movie worth watching. It is unbelievably bad.
It's pretty great. It definitely is memorable. And that's the thing, like if you're like 10 watching this movie as a kid, and like some of the sequences with the dog can be unsettling, and your imagination is elevating it higher than it really is, then I could see that working. But then you see that Satan puppet at the end, and it's like, what?
What's next on our horror movie month?
Well, let's see. If we're going in chronological order, I think we're due for a little Ridley Scott movie. Yeah, finally, something of quality. Well, I mean, Rocky Horror is good, but something of genuine, objective quality.
Next time on Suspenders of Belief, we're checking out Alien.
See you there.